Hello, all. This is my critical reflection on teaching video commentary. Throughout this video, I will be pausing the clip and briefly commenting on the strategies shown and implemented by Ms. West.
Okay, so on our desks we have Hunger Games.
Well, first of all, the text of choice is the Hunger Games, and that is right off the bat a very popular text with children and teens and high school students. So right there, Miss Westling is already engaging the students in something that is relevant to them in their time and their age.
Today's 10th grade English class was about digging into the Hunger Games from the perspective of a reality TV show producer.
Another item that Miss Westling has utilized that these students can relate to is the fact that she is having them put themselves in the position of a reality TV producer. And on TV nowadays, there is a vast expanse of reality TV shows that anybody and everybody can enjoy. So the hand in hand combination of the Hunger Games and a reality TV show assignment is something that is going to truly engage the students and get them interested in the text.
We're going to show opposite sides of people and how people are betraying each other.
Which is not only a theme in the Hunger Games, but it's also a great way to kind of construct an opportunity for students to think about details in the text, applying them to concepts that we've been using to talk about the text, and then to think about how stories are manipulated and constructed. There we go. It's not just like a collage. They're very...
If you see where Miss Westling is stationed at the moment, she is on the level of her students. She is not towering above or peering down at them while they're seated at their desks. She is clearly kneeling next to them and engaging with them on a personal level, as to take away that, I'm the teacher, I'm the dominant person in the classroom mentality, and she is creating a safe space for them to all communicate on the same level.
Few students who have seen or read the Hunger Games and have really contemplated what's going on underneath it. They know the story, they know the plot line.
Now I just have to find a quote for that. What page is that? Do you remember? Oh, here's one.
Taking away the obligation of just figuring out what happened allows us to focus all of our energy then on teaching them how to analyze and teaching them how to read for what's underneath it. Say what your message is so that each time you choose a moment, you're connecting back to that big message. Okay? Did you happen to see these paint buckets up on the wall? Yeah. The lesson started with us looking, first of all, at the Common Core buckets. When we talk about what we want to learn in class each day, I'm going to pull out the stick from each of these buckets so that you know every single day what it is that I want you to leave classroom learning. So today, these are the 3 things your brains are going to have to do.
This is an interesting tactic that Ms. Westling utilizes to communicate the learning goals for the day or the lesson or the assessment, instead of just listing them out on one big sheet of paper plastered on the wall, or instead of printing them out and having them laminated around the classroom. She created a different platform to express what the students will be learning that day.
Your brains are going to have to use logic, they're going to have to close read, and you're going to have to determine themes or concepts. From there, I gave them the challenge of being a reality TV show producer. What I just handed out to you is your challenge for today. You need to create a teaser, maybe 30 seconds or something that you would see to convey a very specific message. I have 7 messages. I'm going to have your group come and choose a card, and your challenge is going to be to figure out what moments from the book so far would you pull out in order to convey that message. So let's take a look here what you're going to do actually on these storyboards. In the blank box, explain what people would see, but then you also need to have some text that goes with it. So that's either going to be dialogue or it's going to be lines from the actual book.
This activity is aiding the students to think more deeply about the text by having them convey a message by citing specific areas of the text.
I want to know how these words And that image that you've chosen helps convey the message that your table is challenged to convey. Can you talk to me a little bit about the message that you're trying to convey?
Again, we just saw briefly Miss Westling was down on the students' level and not towering above them as like an authoritative figure, which allows them to open up more easily when she questions them about the activity.
Okay.
Hunger is bad.
Hunger is bad? Yeah.
It's kind of a generic statement. Yeah.
Okay, so who's this message to? Who's your audience?
Like the capital.
Oh.
The capital.
The capital ignores like District 12.
Yes.
So it's the hungry districts to the not hungry districts.
Yes.
Okay. And what is it that the hungry districts want to tell the not hungry districts?
That they're starving. They don't have food.
So you mentioned bread and hope.
Mm-hmm.
How does that figure into?
Into hunger. Well, so bread is giving them food and allowing them to live, and that, which is hope for them, basically.
Kind of interesting. It's pretty deep, actually. That is way different than where you started when you said hunger is bad.
So what we just saw was an interesting way that Miss Westling was able to allow her students to express what they were trying to put into words, but they were having a hard time doing. She, initiated the conversation, and all they said was hunger is bad, but she sat there with them and talked to them through their meaning of like the bread and the hunger, and she was questioning them so that they could clarify for themselves what they already knew. They just were having a hard time verbalizing it and getting it on the paper. That tactic is one way that a teacher can allow the students to figure out the answers on their own without like force feeding them or literally laying it out. It's just a way that we can question the students and enable them to think more deeply of not only like the text at hand, but whatever we may be questioning them about.
As they reread this text and they realize there's something else going on in it, it lets them know that this is one of those reading dispositions, right? This is what readers do. They see these layers of meaning in a text.
Can you say like this part?
And the fact that she's allowing them to work in groups is one way to, engage the class. Sometimes sitting and doing busy work on your own can get monotonous and boring. So she's allowing the class to bounce ideas off of each other in a group format and creating a more fun atmosphere with this assignment.
Caesar says he likes to help them out.
When we then transfer this to those more traditional 10th grade texts, I don't have to try to convince them that there's something else going on because they know this is what authors do. What's the perspective that you want to take?
Well, it's the capital putting fear on them.
Alright, that works. That works. You need to have like an actual, something actually from the book. Okay?
May the odds be ever in your favor. Can you put that because it's from the reaping?
Why would you put that?
Well, that instills fear in people. The fear inside of the people.
How does it instill fear?
Because they know that the odds might not be in their favor.
There you go. I think you have your own answer.
That was another method that she used, similar to the one before, where she was just questioning the students on why they were trying to utilize a part of the book as evidence. Instead of just saying it, she was asking them why. What does that mean? And getting them to think deeper upon what it was that they were actually trying to decipher in the evidence that they were citing.
So first of all, what is it that you want to convey about robotic obedience?
How the capital controls them and the people just let them.
What would you want them to understand about robotic obedience? I love asking students questions. I love hearing where they're struggling. I love it when they have these, moments of success. Can you tell me about the plan? One of my favorite.
I like how Miss Westling is asking them, can you tell me what's going on? Like, she seems genuinely interested. She's leaning in towards the student. She's, not, again, as I've, preached this entire video, not towering over them. She's in their level or on their level, next to them, leaning in, showing interest, asking them what they're doing.
Moments was I went to this group. There were 2 girls and a boy. And they were talking and explaining what they were doing, and I was sitting right beside him, and I saw that he was the only one who had written on his paper this thing about rich versus poor. And so I asked him, I said, what is that all about?
Like the rich were trained on how to survive, but like the poor have to survive to live like their entire lives.
Hey, did you talk about that?
No.
That's okay, then you just wrote that down but didn't share it? He and the rest of the group realized they hadn't talked about this really amazing insight that he had. How would that influence your message?
I said they don't know how to fight for their lives, so it'll be easier to kill them. Yeah.
When I go around to groups like that, I think that's one of the most important things that I can do. It's to make observations about where they're at in their process and then help them figure out how to use those to further their own thinking. But tell me, how did these scenes that you've selected persuade the people in the Capitol to watch the Hunger Games?
Again, with this question, Ms. Wessling is enabling the students to think deeply and critically about the evidence they are citing. It is one thing to just put on paper a quote from a text, but it's another to truly think about why that is evidence for or against something. And Ms. Wessling is pulling that out of her students.
Betrayal like brings drama, and people like watching drama. They want to see people going against each other.
One of the things that I noticed I thought was especially powerful was this one group that I talked to kind of towards the end of class, and they had come up with this really great idea. And then I asked them about their original concept. How are you connecting that to playing the game?
Well, I guess people play the game.
Forget about that part. And they looked at each other and they said, oh no, we forgot. And then another.
In that instance, as she was going around from group to group, kind of checking in with them and seeing where they were at with the assignment, you see that this group in particular was not necessarily off task, but they had kind of veered off of the point that they were initially supposed to be and trying to make. And instead of reprimanding them or, making them feel inadequate or, for lack of better words, stupid, she kind of giggled with them and laughed and then kind of helps point them in the direction that they should be going.
He jumped in and said, but now we need to put that idea back in there.
You kind of have to be two-faced in the game. Wouldn't the two-faced part be where he says he likes Katniss, but then goes back and wants to kill her or whatever?
That's self-monitoring. I didn't tell them that. I just said what happened to the concept. And they realized what they had done in their thinking and constructing process.
We can do a repeated confesses his feelings.
In today's lesson, they were building something, and in doing that, their takeaway was figuring out how to maneuver details of a text in a way that situates them as writing their own narrative about it. Give me a thumbs up if you know that you spent some time trying to think logically about something.
Here, we see that she is subtly allowing the students to show what they have or have not learned by, asking for a thumbs up if they kind of completed or achieved the learning goal instead of, making them stand up or raise their hand. It's a little bit more subtle with the thumb so she can see if somebody may or may not have actually grasped the concept of the day.
Determining themes or concepts. Did you talk about words that you can't touch? Okay. Did you have to use some moments when you had read closely in the text in order to do this? Yes, perfect.
Again, the rulers with the learning goals for the day is a great way to allow the students to stay on task and remember exactly what it is they are supposed to be completing for the day.